Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Marketing with Nathan A. Webster podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Webster. I am excited to chop it up with you. Now, for my listeners out there, in case you do not know, I am recording this on video as well. I haven't done one for a while, so I was like, why not do it? So you can go to the YouTube channel and go check it out. For those first-time listeners, please feel free to subscribe. And if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, what is going on? Like, come on now. Hey, if you are a first-time listener, thank you for tuning in. I've been podcasting for the last 5 years. It's crazy to say 5 years, almost 5 years. Seriously, come in I was going to say next month, but we're almost there. We're almost there. Today, I want to focus on staying positive ain't easy. I put up a post, I want to say about a month and a half ago, and I was like going through it, y'all. Like, for real, I was going through it. And this is another reason why I wanted to record this video, so you can like see me. I'm talking to you. For those that are having a difficult time, or if you know someone that's having a difficult time, I'm just going to drop like 4 different categories of things that how staying positive ain't easy, right? But you got to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Being that this is recording during audio, or not just audio, it's video, I had to do a little bit more of my due diligence so it wouldn't sound a little bit off, because there's no editing, there's no erasing. We're going to keep it just like the way it is, just because we're going to keep it real. So let's get into it. And I'm going to get right to it to say staying positive ain't easy, but the way you stay positive, no matter what, is you focus on the end goal. In the journey, we all say, man, I can't wait to get to the destination. But I'm going to keep it real with you. That destination ain't that great sometimes when you get there, because sometimes, if not majority of the time, it may not be what you think it's going to be. That takes me to one of my personal examples I was going to give. But I want to give something a little bit different because, and I'm going to share how all of this is connected, right? For those that can't see me, I'm doing my matrix. So for those that are non-custodial parents, I'm a non-custodial parent. And man, it was hard for me to make that adjustment, right? But I had to become a non-custodial parent because I went through a divorce and I didn't want to not see my kiddos every day. So I stayed in a relationship that I shouldn't have. And there's more to it, right? But I want to respect the other person, privacy and all that, because we all have our own journey. We also have our own truths to tell. But at the end of the day, I know for me, there's not that perfect alignment. I'm not saying it has to be perfect. We don't have a great alignment. We don't have a good alignment. It's just bad, right? But here's the thing. I got to stay positive because I don't want that to rub off to my kids. And so a good example within being a non-custodial parent, when it comes to their education, and it's funny, as an educator, I really emphasize the fact that life will get in the way. The problem is with my kiddos from elementary to high school, the educators, the schools don't do that great of a job of making sure both parents get the information. So if you're an educator out there and you're listening, we got to improve that. I have to improve it too as an educator, but I can't talk to parents. That's a federal felony right there because it goes against FERPA. But when it comes to educating my kids, since COVID has happened, they have been communicating to me because obviously they're at home. And when they're at home, when I get them on the weekends, I have to help them with their homework. And they ask me questions, or I get these notifications. And so as a non-custodial parent, I have a different perspective than when I was in the relationship, when I was married, when I was there every day, even now of learning what they're doing. It's a lot different, and it's something that it is extremely frustrating. But I stay positive because my focus is on them making sure not only they are retaining this information, this knowledge to help them with their test, but I want their lives to be enriched as well. But here's the reason why I really wanted to talk to y'all about staying positive. Like, and as a kid, and I got my notes right here, so I'm looking down. I got my notes like right there. Whew, man, like it or not, people hate the truth if it disagrees with their lifestyle. But we love a good lie. A good lie is sometimes, if not majority of the time, more entertaining than the truth. But here's the problem. If you're gonna stay positive, you have to recognize and acknowledge that not all things will be positive. We win when we recognize that losing sucks. And if you want to get to where you want to be, you have to focus on the journey, not on the destination. When you realize that the destination ain't all that, because you're like, oh, okay, I'm here. There is no balloons, there's no fireworks, there's no celebration, there's no party. You're like, that's it, right? And you just realize that the hard work it took to get here, that was actually not that bad, right? So this is where, just being honest, the fun is in the grind. It's in the processes, baby. It's in the journey, not in the destination. And I had a very specific story that I wanted to lead with, but I wanted to give you something personal to say, hey, look, and I got personal. I got the business what I'm about to share. I got when I was a nonprofit founder, executive leader, director, when I was leading my nonprofit, and I have one for school, okay? And these are all examples that I can't change, but I'm going to stay positive. And some people don't even know what I'm going through, but they will never know until they ask and sit down, or maybe sometimes not with that. They're just not part of my inner circle. So this is what I was going to just talk about during the whole podcast, but I was like, you know what? Let me give it a little bit more context, Let's put some more texture on this bad boy. So this is how I wanted to just lead and tell the whole story, but I'm like, no, let me do other things. So a few years ago, I sat down from a referral from someone that I was familiar with, and I don't, because of confidentiality and names, for those that might be close to me or have worked with me, you might know who I'm talking about. But I'm not going to mention any names. So I was referred to this entity, and they needed a website. Sat down with them, had a great meeting. I'm like, okay, next time let me bring my team. And so I brought my team with me, and we talked about what that looked like. And we were talking, I take my computer everywhere. I was taking notes, blah, blah, blah. They said, hey, let's move forward. And I was like, well, we haven't drilled down exactly on the type of website, the type of template you want, your call to actions, what exactly your brand is going to represent. How about you take a moment, you discuss it with your people, and you get back to us? And they were like, no. The leader was like, I'm cutting you a check. We're moving forward. We like you. We talked to somebody else. And I'm sorry, this was the first time meeting with them. And I'm like, well, you sure? Because I'm okay. I don't need the money. Plus, I want to make sure you make the right decision and talk it over with your peeps. I know what it's like having peeps. And so this leader was very adamant. They said, no, I want you to take the money. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take this money, but I'm letting you know that we good. This is your down payment. This is your deposit. We good, right? And now everything was good. We were moving it along. So that's when I brought my team the next week. And when I bring my team, we're 100% committed. We want to ask questions, dig deep, figure out what's going on. All right. So about a week or so later, the conflict and tension started to increase amongst the other peeps that were like, I disagree. This is how it should be done. This is the website we want. They were doing it wrong. And when I say they were talking about us. We were doing it wrong, not according to the way they wanted to do it. And I was just like, man, y'all are not right now on one accord. And I thought we talked about this before I took the money, before we started to move forward. And they said, no, we good. And I'm like, well, okay. Okay, are you sure? They were like, we good. So I'm now out of town. I think it's a week or so later. They said that they're going to work it out. And there's so many details, but I won't go into full details with it. But I'm out of town at a conference, and at this event, I'm getting a phone call saying, you need to give us back our money. We don't want to go with you. And if you don't, then I'm going to have to take legal action. I'm just like, I'm like, hold on. How did we go from we good to now you want to take legal action against us? Well, it got even worse. Another person called and was like, oh no, I called them. And the other person said, hey, we're going to take you to court. I know people, I'm going to smear your name, blah, blah, blah. And again, I'm out of town. I'm at a conference. I'm focused on something different, right? And now all of a sudden, I got more than one person from this entity talking to me. One person was physical. Not physical. Was verbally assaultive. That's what I wanted to say. The other person was like, let's just do good business. Let's do what's right. Blah, blah, blah. And what they were saying was, you wrote notes. We have the notes to say that you were going to charge this amount and you were going to do this work. I'm like, no, I do not take handwritten notes. Especially when I'm someplace else. I take my computer and I document everything on the computer. I don't write handwritten notes. Well, there was other things that went on, and I remember watching Crazy Rich Asians. It wasn't yet in theaters. Actually, I think it was dropping that Friday, or it came out the Friday before. And hearing that this person was going to sue me, or this entity was going to sue me and my company for, I think, $500, and I think it was a little bit more than that. I think it was $750. I think it was $750 because we ultimately just settled at $375. And I was like, hey, I'll drop off the check, and I was just, initially they were like, no, $500. I'm like, hey, I was in communication with you. I brought my team there, and you wanted to, you made, like, no, we were there. We put in work. Our time matters, right? So we got it down to $375, said, hey, chalked it up. And it's interesting, right? Because out of this whole time, going back to staying positive, it wasn't easy to stay positive when I was out of town. It wasn't easy staying positive at that conference when people were laughing, having a good time. I'm having someone that's going to sue me for $750 when I was like, hey, I mean, the contract hadn't been signed, and I was like, I took the money because they were like, no, take the money. No, we want you to take the money. We want you to start. I'm like, well, you didn't sign on DocuSign. And it was just these issues, right? But the whole time, even though it wasn't a good feeling, it was hard, just keeping it real. The truth of it was, I was like anxious. My heart was like pounding out of my chest. But the lie I was telling was, no, I'm great. We're having fun. It wasn't a lie, right? Because I was having fun during certain moments, but that was still in the back of my head. Like, wow, this is legit. Like, what did I do wrong? And, my team was like, did you say something that was different? I'm like, no, I mean, you were there. You were you weren't there on the first day, but you were there on the second time. And it's like, where did it go wrong? Well, this is why I was saying focus on the processes. And so now, whenever I do business, I make sure, and I don't take any money on the first time. I've learned my lesson, but the focus is on the process and not getting so fast to the destination with the client, because the client obviously needs something, right? That's why they're coming to us. But I don't value the transaction more than relationship. This taught me to value the relationship over the transaction, which I've always done. But now I have doubled down on it because I was like, I can't change it, right? So that was the example I wanted to use for the whole podcast. And I could continue to go in further detail because there was more great takeaways from it. But it's something to be said when it comes in business, value the relationship over the transaction. And even though it didn't go our way, you still need to continue to trudge on. You got to move on. You got to press forward. You got to continue to stay positive, even though it ain't easy. So that was my business example. I gave you my personal example. Now to number 3, my nonprofit example. And my school examples too is pretty simple. And again, these are all things I cannot change. So my very first grant that I received as a nonprofit leader, a founder, it was to my own baby, so it was awesome. I finally wrote the grant that got us some big bucks, not just a couple of $100 or $1,000. This was for $25,000. I've been denied from this grant, I think 3, maybe 4 times. I got this grant. I was like, yes, I got the grant. So after talking with this person from the organization, they said, okay, well, we have to give you according to X, Y, and Z. And since you have not raised that money yet in revenue or even in in-kind volunteer hours, we cannot give you the full amount. I think it was chalked down to about like $10,000. So I lost $15,000 because we didn't have the systems in place. Ever since then, I've been more about the process, right? Building that infrastructure, right? Setting up those systems, right? Talking to the people I need to talk to make sure I don't leave what they say money on the table, right? I left $15,000 on the table, and the person from the organization was like, can you not find anything that you did for this to where we can get you at that point? I was like, no, unfortunately I can't. And I think it was like basically they can only give 80% of our income, and I think our income was like $14,000. And it was I was just hurt. She was like, you should consider volunteer hours, right? Man, I didn't have that down. I missed the mark, right? And that's the part about the truth. The truth hurt. The fact that I was slipping. I was not on top of my game. But at the same time, the truth of the matter was, you don't know what you don't know. I did not know. So I could be downtrodden. I could be depressed. I could be upset, infuriated, frustrated, which honestly, I was all of them. I was all of them. But I didn't stop. I was still happy. I was still excited, elated. This was my very first grant. I was going to definitely celebrate. Like, what? Like, get on out of here. I was going to celebrate. But it was hard. It was really hard. And so this is why I tell you, especially you social entrepreneurs out there, I get the passion over profit. It's all about the client. It's all about the community. It's all about the social good. But it's still a business. And you could leave money on the table. That $15,000, oh my God. You know what we could have done with $15,000? Oh my God. $15,000? $15,000. Shoot, even now, $15,000 that I earned and I couldn't claim it? Woo! All right, you see what I'm saying? That's why I've learned to focus not on getting the money or getting that purse, that lump sum, but get all what needs to be done so I can get all that money. All that money. I think of Key and Pills. She got to get all that money. Khaleesi. All right. Last one, the school one. Again, it's something I cannot control. I did a podcast on this as well. Rate My Professor. Rate My Professor is something that came out after, like, I don't want to say after I was in college, but like right towards my end, because cell phones were like, we had cell phones, but you didn't have like mobile data and you didn't have all these websites and apps like you do now. Well, like the Rate My Professor is frustrating because there are, and I did a podcast on this. I'm trying to think what was the name of it. And to see, here's where it's like, oh, I'm not prepared. I'm not prepared, so I have to go over here on my screen for those that. I think I found it. I released it on in April of 2020, or maybe it came out in May of 2020. It's called "How Rate My Professor Deceives College Students." And here's the thing. I've gotten my worst remarks from people or students I bent over backwards for. There is one student that put in there that I don't even have a real office. I was in contact with that student several times throughout the year. Even though I have a shared office, it's very small. It doesn't have windows. It's a lot of stuff is in there, so it feels very impersonal, and that's not the way I roll. And it just feels also I think like you're in a hall closet. Not to say that I haven't met students there. I have. Sometimes it's just easier, but I met them in our main foyer, student center, and it was wide open. And I was on the phone because I have business to attend to, right? Anyways, this student was saying like, "Oh, I don't have a real office," and then on top of that, was talking. I wasn't paying attention to him, and I was like, "Okay." Basically, the student, in my opinion, went at A. They said that because they didn't get the A and they were begging for like extra credit, they got mad because they didn't get the grade that they want. And there's so much complexity to it, but it says I'm a bad professor. I know I'm a great professor. You ain't got to tell me that. Well, I do like it when you tell me that, right? As anybody would. The biggest thing to it is that someone like me, like I don't get benefits. I'm not tenure. I only get paid to teach the class. I don't get paid to do office hours. Even though that's in the contract, I have to go out of my way because I don't need to be on campus. This is an online course. It's because due to this person's inability and no discipline to stay focused on what they need to do, and of course they comparing it to all different online courses. And now in COVID, everybody got to go online. I'm sure those students are like, "Oh, I guess it maybe wasn't that bad," but I never complained about my professor. Actually, no, I did. But when I look back on it, it was like, yeah, I didn't complain like that. I didn't submit negative review. But the issue for me is, and this is why, like, sometimes staying positive is like I'm bending over backwards for someone because I remember how I was that student that needed help. And then after you receive the help, you're just gonna backstab somebody. That hurts. I give my all. I'm vulnerable. I tell personal stories to help students with their understanding instead of using fake stories, fake companies, fake products, fake services, fake scenarios that I don't believe helps. And I put it all out there. So when students say that, like, and they like just like kill it, I get it. They think we're like an Amazon product, but we're not. So again, this is all about, for me, giving you these examples is showing you that I am human. It's not the easiest thing to stay positive, but I do it because it's a choice. And I wanted to do it, as I said earlier in the show. People say that, "Oh, Nathan, your stuff is so encouraging, so enlightening." And when I post a negative, like, "Are you okay?" And it's like, no, I just try to be a bit more transparent than maybe some other people. I don't post all happy moments. I don't post all sad moments. I just post what I feel is relevant and what I think is specific to my brand. But this personal, with the non-custodial as a parent, me with my business talking about being sued, why I do contracts, right? Proposals, again, that's another podcast. As a nonprofit leader, having all zeal and passion, left money on the table. That's real. And then with the school, rate my professors. I'm not a tenure professor. I don't get all the time they get. I was making half as what the tenure professors, yet we're judged the same. And I don't think that was fair. But regardless, I'm gonna stay positive. And so that's why I wanted to do not only just the audio but the video, because I want you to stay positive. And sometimes I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely hard. And what I do, one of the tricks that I learned, and I maybe the Holy Spirit just put it in my soul, my spirit. But when I'm like really just like, oh man, I just start smiling as big as I can, and I try to laugh. And before I know it, I forgot what I was upset about. Like at the core, like wow, like but I just start smiling, and if I can, I laugh, and then I was just like, man, I'm gonna have a good time, and which that leads to the very end. As I bring this to a close, when I talk about don't focus on the destination, because when you get there, it may not be what it's going to be. So when I got out the Marine Corps, which I won't give details, but when I got out the Marine Corps, they said it was going to be one of the hardest transitions of your life. Well, when I got back, it was still today, one of the hardest transitions I dealt with. And I was over at families, friends. They were like my surrogate family. And if you don't know, I have a pretty loud laugh. I was loud laugh award in elementary. And so for a couple of weeks, I guess I didn't laugh, but they told a joke and I like boisterous laugh like I used to. And they were like, wow, Nate, we haven't heard you laugh like that for a long time. Again, I just got out of the Marine Corps. I was gone for at least a good 9 months. And for them to say that made me recognize that I wasn't myself. So I say be you in all my posts, as I'm saying stay positive. And don't fake the funk while you're doing that, which I say I told you in the podcast, don't fake the funk. Staying positive is staying you for who you are, no matter what the circumstance may be. And if you're not having a good day, just tell people, I'm not having a good day. Be you. It's not going to be easy, right, to stay positive. But on the other side of positive is negative. And negativity can do so much damage to you. So stay positive, stay healthy. So be you, dream big, and Godspeed. I wish you nothing but the best. Until next time, thank you to all my worldwide listeners out there. Thank you for your support. And if you haven't already, please share and like this on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and any other platform that's out there. And connect with me on LinkedIn at Nathan A. Webster, or on Instagram, Nathan Webster 543, or the company page at NW and Associates LLC. Until next time, again, dream big and Godspeed.